All right. Today I am happy to have a guest by the name of Dr. Lauren Jones. She owns the Animal Hospital of Chester County and is a veterinary strategist for Shepherd Veterinary Software. Note, Shepherd's been a sponsor of the podcast in the past. I'm obviously a big fan of theirs. And so this was a interview we were setting up anyways, but super unique, and we're going to get into this more and more, is that Dr. Jones owns a practice while living in a separate state. And I think that's super interesting and want to dig in there. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. And this is your first podcast, right?
It is, yes.
Which is
So,
amazing. And that's one of my favorite things to do. So I know that no one will know your background and know your history unless
that's right.
they know you personally.
Correct.
So for those listening that don't know you, was veterinary medicine the thing at 6 years old that you were, dead set on doing? And that was always the case, that this was where it was going to be? Or what does the journey look like for you?
Absolutely. It's a kind of for me, it's a typical road that a lot of us veterinarians take, and 6, 7, 8, that's all I ever wanted to be. And I flirted with, like some physical therapy, human medicine when I was, in high school, did some volunteering, came to the realization that, most, it's kind of a thing that we say in vet med that, humans are gross. And so I went right back to, a little flirtation with human medicine and came right back to veterinary medicine. I knew all along I wanted to be a practice owner. So just GP, small animal, that's where my heart was really, since I was younger. I've had horses and all of that, but we, typically, small animals kind of where I gravitated. So, So since I've been very young and owned and graduated and owned my first practice 5 years later. So pretty consistent, the plan.
So yeah, knowing that you want to be an owner, I think is interesting, because there's always
Mhm.
this conversation, especially recently, that no one wants to own practices, which I don't
Yeah.
buy into at all. But what was the practice purchase like for you? Did you buy a practice that you worked in? Was it one that you had known about and had your eye on? Was it local to you? Kind of what's the context there?
So my first hospital was the hospital I went into right out of vet school. So graduated in 2010, knew I wanted to be an owner, told when I was interviewed by, my bosses, was like, hey, maybe it's not this place, but just so you know, like I want to own a practice one day. So I'm not going to be here for 20 years. Maybe if in, 5 years you want to sell, then I'll be here. Potentially it was important to me, one, as a new grad, that I got my feet wet as a vet. I don't need to learn how to be an owner at the same time as being a vet. I wanted to be, have solid foundation in my skills as a doctor. And all the, took some business courses in vet school, and everyone recommends to be at the practice for 5 years at least, so that your clients, the community, and just it's not as shell shocked. You're not as shell shocked when you get there and go, oh man, I made a mistake. So I knew I wanted to be there at least 5 years, and that's actually what it ended up being. So I graduated in 2010. In 2015, the owners of the practice came to me and said, hey, we talked about this. We had been kind of talking all throughout the years too. But it's time we want to get out. So that's how I got my first hospital. That's the very first place I worked. That's my the first hospital that I owned.
Was there
So
anything that was making you really nervous as you were stepping into practice ownership? So you knew, the skeletons in the closet, you knew any of
mhm,
the good things, the bad things, all that, you knew the team. So that helps because you weren't going into a brand new
sure.
hospital. Was there anything that was like really making you nervous going into that practice purchase?
Well, I think a couple things. Short term was once we had the hospital was in my name and it's all me. It was, can I make payroll next week? And the lives of, I think we probably maybe had 20 people on staff at that point. Their livelihoods now depend on me. And that was terrifying, that kind of failure. It's not just me. It's, and obviously could have gotten loans, help from family, but that was a really big one. But also, when I went into it, culture is so important to me. And you hear so many stories of, burnout and horrible bosses, funny movies aside. And I wanted to do the best that I could for them. And, a lot of veterinarians, we're not great at failure. We're not really taught how to fail. And, so I really was, that was my biggest concern, was that, I approached every decision with what is best for the business and what is best for my employees. And if those two things weren't the same thing, 9 out of 10 times I was going with what was best for my employees, because I wanted to do right by them and make it a culture worth coming to work, worth, just being happy. And I think happier employees make better employees and make better medical decisions. And, I really wanted to cultivate that and have a place people were happy to come to work, and myself included. I wanted to be part of that. So I think that was my biggest, I knew I'd figure it out along the lines. I knew I would have some stumbles, but I wanted to create a culture and to succeed there.
I know I'm like keep digging in on the practice side, but
It's
so
great.
those decisions, I think it's a great framework, right? What's best for the business, what's best for the team, picking the team over that, because ultimately,
Mhm.
the team is going to be what dictates that. Was there
Yeah.
ever like, do you have a good example of a decision that was like, this might not be the best thing for the bottom line, but the best thing for the team longer term that you want to share? And if not, we can
Oh, that's a great
skip
question.
that question.
Certainly, and I say that with like the 1 out of 10 times is like, well, we got to keep the lights on, guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
obviously we're not gonna, take it down that way. But I think, right now it's looking at things that we don't have, and we're not unique. And everything I'm going to say right here is not, I'm not the first one to come up with these ideas, but, some of those decisions mostly revolving around, the finances, in terms of, I want my staff to be paid at the higher end of what their job, set, should get, or, whatever they should receive. I want to pay them well, but it's also about, we pay for long-term and short-term disability for all our staff, just for us, so that if they, are pregnant and go on leave, if they have any kind of injury, that they still have money coming in, that they don't have to worry about that. So it's that, and that comes right out of our, we don't ask them to contribute anything. As long as they've been there after 90 days, then they go on our account. Paying for their healthcare. So that's a huge concern for a lot of staff members. So, we do that whenever possible. An employee, we have an assistance program where we, that we pay for, so that if they need access to legal, financial counselors, that they don't have to worry about paying for it, and that they have access to all of these, just different consultants. So, whenever I love change, and I love trying new things out. And whenever I would hear about something, read about something, oh, what do my husband owns a practice with me. He's not a veterinarian. He does most of the financial side. So we would always, we talk vet med all day, and we'd be at the dinner table and go, oh my gosh, I heard about this. And what do you think? Do you think we can do this is this a better benefit for them? And then we'll kind of spitball, and, and we like to try things out. I'm not afraid of change. I like that challenge. But that means that with all of these things that we try to provide for our staff, and it's, like paid time off and all of that, it means that our, margins are lower than, corporate, which I never trashing corporate. I think, but I don't think that's what's best for vet med. And I am really proud to be a veterinarian owner. Definitely a non-traditional way, but, I don't want to go corporate. And so that means that I might not have a 20% return that I'm taking home every year. Maybe I'm taking 10, and as long as I can keep the lights on and it still makes sense, obviously I have to make a living too, but it's not crazy. And so that is, I think that's the downside. But man, if my staff is happy, and if I can sleep at night knowing that I'm not that horrible boss who, makes everyone miserable, then that's worth it for me.
Yeah, and I hope everyone caught the film reference when you made
Thank
that
you.
earlier on.
Yes.
I totally caught it. I was like, I got it. I'm just calling that out. I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but that was great. And
It's one of my favorites.
yeah, so I keep saying last question. I'm going to ask another one. When you took over and bought in and bought them out, did you let anyone go on the team? Was there anyone that
No.
Okay, they stayed. I was
Mm-hmm.
curious, with you being there for 5 years, if there was anyone that, it was a hard transition to see you as, part of the team to being the owner, right? Because I think
Right.
sometimes that's a tricky transition.
I think, the only thing, I'm going to go back. So there were a few, the hospital at that time did have, they owned 2 hospitals. They were like sister hospitals. They retained some people, but so it wasn't like I fired them.
Sure. Yeah.
Gosh, it wasn't that long ago, but now, yeah, no, I don't think we fired anybody. I don't remember anything that, yeah.
That's
Sorry,
great.
that wasn't a very clear answer.
No, that's perfect. It's like, I got to think that's been a minute, right?
It wasn't anything dramatic, at least,
Yeah. So you talked about you and your husband both owning the practice. He's doing, his role, you're doing kind of the clinical
Mhm.
role. How do you move from Pennsylvania to Arizona and still retain ownership? And like, what's I guess walk us through that the conversation to what you're doing and how you run that today.
Yeah. So so we had the two practices, and it was a little bit of a do as I say, not as I do, so I, try to make sure that no one goes into overtime who doesn't want overtime, get home, get to your families. That's more important. And I didn't do that myself, right? So the one hospital, I was working 80 plus hours on call all the time. And a lot of that comes with ownership, right? So if I have an employee who's sick, well, somebody has to be on call. And so that's going to be me, that's how it is. But I missed a lot of my young kids, life events and, holidays with family, lots of those things. So I didn't really follow my own culture rules that I tried to promote for my staff. So in 2020, some of the doctors who worked for me at the hospital that I was putting in a lot of time said, "Hey, we want to be owners, and what do you think about selling to us?" And so again, it wasn't what I had maybe envisioned for that path, but I went, man, I stand the chance of like kind of, I was frankly burnt out and not enjoying it and not enjoying vet med and going how, feeling stuck. And my gosh, how I went through all of this school. This is what I wanted to do since I was 6, all this money, a staggering debt. And I don't want to use this degree. Like, what am I doing? And all of this guilt and all my family and friends, I try to talk to them and they'd say, so you're not going to be a real vet anymore? Like, what are you going to do? So when my associate or my employees came to me and wanted to buy the practice from me, I went, yeah, let's talk about it. And that worked out. So we sold the one hospital to them. I had a second hospital that I had purchased in 2017 that I stayed on there, but I wasn't as integral as a doctor there. I did more management. And so a couple months later, sold the practice. COVID hits, right? Everything's crazy. My husband has to get a new job, and he gets and it's in Phoenix. So we looked at each other and went, how is this going to work? Do you stay and I go? Do we sell this practice? But I didn't have anybody that I wanted to sell it to and wasn't really ready to be done with practice ownership. And I really, like I mentioned earlier, I don't feel right with going to corporate. Everyone makes their own decisions. I'm not here to judge that. But for me, my staff, where I see vet med being its best for not only the staffing, but for clients and ultimately patients is privately owned and operated. So I said, hey, look, let's go to Phoenix. I like warm weather, and let's set my staff down and said, I'm going to come back, every month or so. We're cloud-based with our management software. So I can log in. I do everything that I can for them that way. All of our prescription refills, so they're not having to deal with that. All of our staff, the HR, payroll, HR, time off, staff scheduling, anything that isn't, looking at an animal in your hands, I try to take off their plate. And then I go back once a month. I meet with them, control drug counts that I have to do, I take them out for happy hour, touch base, trying to get a pulse of it. In addition, like meeting with my medical director every week or so, just to making sure we're kind of on the same page. So it's been, kind of an incredible journey. I've never been happier, and I've really found, joy in my life again as a veterinarian. And it's not traditional, but I'm still able to. I'm happy while also I didn't have to compromise. I didn't have to sell to someone I didn't want to and, screw over my staff and my employees. I didn't have, I can still provide for them and create that culture, maintain that culture at my hospital. So that's how I got here, and it's going well, and it's scary for them. I understand, they're like, you live in Arizona, the hospital's in Philadelphia, like you've got to sell soon, and I try to sit them down whenever I can and just, hey, look, when I want to do it differently. When I first bought my first hospital, we weren't allowed to talk to anybody. And they came in one day and said, the old owners are out, Lauren's in, and that's really scary, for staff. So I am doing everything I can to talk to my staff and ensure that we're not, hey guys, when the time comes, I'm going to sit you down and go, what do you guys want? You want like to do a cooperative ownership, or, anyone here want it? Do you guys want corporate? They do have, great benefits and things like that. And there's a lot of downside. Like, what do you want to do, guys? Let's talk about it. And also make sure that if I'm ready, whenever I'm ready to sell, that they're getting a benefit out of that, not just me. So, there's a lot of bumps and things that we've navigate it, but it's been almost, I guess, 2 years, a little over 2 years now. Sorry, and
I
I
was
can
going to
get like
want,
rambling and like
no, no,
going
no,
on, so you
no,
can also like cut me off.
no, this is the whole idea of the podcast. And I think I joked when we had connected first is like, for me is to ask good questions and then just shut the hell up and let the guests talk. And that's perfect. I was going to ask how long. So it's been a little over 2 years. What's been
Mhm.
the biggest like, oh crap moment that you've had to kind of navigate through if you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah. Um, hmm. I think it's typically whenever there's been before we moved out to Phoenix, one of our staff members was going through chemotherapy and was really sick, and we just said, hey, like, you've got a job here. And I worked in reception for 6 months and answered phone. I took her place, and I'm used to filling in. Somebody's sick, I'm there. Somebody needs, um and I think that's been the hardest part for, we had a couple, like once where we had three big key players in the hospital had something happen, whether it was illness or, um, they had to move because of their partner or whatever. Well, but three big, like doctors, medical, or I'm sorry, my hospital manager, all this have to leave at the same time, and I can't, I can't rescue them in the way that I usually would. Just jumping in and like I'll do everything. So I think that's been the scariest part is that I can't be hands on when I feel like I need to be hands on, and that feels like I'm letting my staff down. So trying to just increase communication at those times, and what do you need? How can I help? And being a little bit again thinking outside the box, and okay, we don't have anybody who can answer the phone today. Well, we're on a VoIP system, so I can answer it from Phoenix. It's not going to be perfect, but let me answer the phone calls for a little bit. And so it's, I think those have been the most challenging, is when there's something major like a staff turnover, somebody's sick, and I need to be there for my staff.
If you can improve the health of an animal, you do it, right? Of course. That's what makes veterinarians special. You're mission driven. My friends at LifeLearn are the exact same way. For over 25 years, they've been partnering with you and your peers, providing affordable, customizable, online software solutions. These solutions save time, increase efficiency, and assist in managing all aspects of operations. Why? They want to help you improve your partnership with pet owners to improve pet health. LifeLearn has award-winning digital media solutions and are leading the pack as they've prioritized having extensive veterinary knowledge throughout their teams. That difference is seen, it's heard, and it's read by thousands of people across the country. Relax, grow, and thrive with LifeLearn. Click the link in the show notes for an exclusive offer to see how LifeLearn can allow you to get back to what you do best. Yeah, how do you all communicate best? I mean, are you using Slack? Is it some other thread? Okay.
Yeah, so we use Slack, and then just for general things, and I'll share. I caught a couple of snakes out here, but then it's getting hot and we're getting snakes, so shared a bunch of pictures there. So it's fun stuff, just to try to kind of stay, you know, so that they know I'm a real person. I'm not, because as we get new staff members, they don't know me like the older
Sure.
staff members do. And I'm a real person. I'm not Oz behind behind any curtain, so it's that, but also real things. I put our meeting agendas on there for the technicians and the doctor meetings and my medical director meetings. And then as they have questions, they know that most of the time I'm there throughout the day, and they can, hey, this isn't in as a product. Can we, what's the pricing on this? So it's mostly Slack, and then I meet once a week just over the phone with my medical director.
Outside of Shepherd,
Mm-hmm.
what's your favorite tool that you all utilize within the practice?
Like in terms of uh, like vet med or management
Anything.
or okay.
Anything that you like. I mean, it can be anything.
This is kind of nerdy, but
I love it.
we a couple years ago, or no, I guess it was last year, we got a new microscope, which is really silly and ridiculous, but I love, cytology is great, and it has this beautiful LED screen on top. So we get to share with, and so it becomes this learning environment when we're there, and go, what am I looking at? And then you can step back and you can, talk to the doctors and go, oh, we're right here. And you see this right here, and the nucleus of this cell. And so we get to this brainstorming session that is, like a round table while you're all looking real time at the same thing. And also teaching. I think it's great to, obviously we're not like a teaching facility, but new staff members who want to take on that, hey, let me show you, what an ear cytology looks like. This is a rod bacteria. This is a cocci. This is yeast. So it's been a great learning tool, but also, and I love technology. I geek out on that. So if I can, it's like I said, it's a nerdy response, but that's my favorite piece of equipment there.
I mean, if you're true to being a veterinarian, like I would expect nothing less, right? Like it needs to be like that. That should be the reply. I thought you might go business, but I like it. That's good. No, that's great.
Yeah.
So what does a veterinary strategist do? So, right, you have this other role,
I do.
the work that you do with Shepherd. So let's talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that.
So I've had a long relationship with Shepherd. I moved both of my practices in 2018 to the cloud-based software, which was major for me. And so, like we had headaches with paper records and all of that. So I've known them since 2018. I was one of the first 15 practices to sign up with them. Most of the people who, I onboarded with are still there. Obviously, Shepherd's growing, so there's a lot, there's more newer faces now. But I've kept in great contact with them. And I always joke that one of the reasons I went with Shepherd was because, while I love the beautiful software, it's intuitive, it's how vets think, but it also, the employees there, man, I'd go have a beer with them. Like, let's go get a beer, guys. And I want that. I don't want the stuffy Imprameds and all of the other PIMs out there. They're fun people. So I have kept in contact with them. And so now when my hospital, we close at 5:30 every day. But with the time difference, now that's 2:30 for me. So I'm going, all right, what am I going to do here? So Shepherd had reached out to me. So again, I've always been, someone who they could call on to be like, hey, can you talk to this practice? They want to make, they want to talk to an existing user. So they knew I was already comfortable in that role. So they brought me on, last year, in the part-time capacity so that I have a lot of different hats, which is great. And it really fills that, that challenge for me, but also that non-traditional role of I'm still using my degree, but in just kind of a really unique way. It's part of my job with Shepherd is that onboarding clinics, helping them, I can show them my clinic live. Here's how we do this. Here's how we walk through our SOAP, our medical records, set up our admin, all of that. Potential clients, well, I'll do the same thing, to see if they, like, hey, it's not every PIMS is for everybody. So let me show you mine. But then what really is just, I'm so excited that they have, kind of let me on to help with features and, from a veterinarian's perspective, right? So would this help a veterinarian? And while I obviously I'm small animal, I'm not mobile, I have a good idea of those things. It's not perfect, but I can say for the vast majority, at least for small animal GP, yes, this is great. No, it's not. Hey, I can come up with ideas. But really there were, where I'm really just falling in love with my profession again is that I can, we're talking about wellness check-ins for that integrated into the software. And so most people just think, oh, whatever, it's software, it's just kind of running in the background. But that's where, Shepherd, we're independently owned. So that's also speaks near and dear to my heart. We're not owned by this big corporate, big farm, anything like that. And we are able to make these decisions. And, and Shepherd, looks to me to say, hey, how can we do this? Would this be helpful? And I talked earlier about myself being burnout and not loving vet med, and suicide rates are huge amongst veterinarians, like 2 to 5 times that of the general public. And so the thought of being able to look at, again, thinking outside the box and saying, yes, it's veterinary software, but it can be more and we can reach more people with that. So we can, the same culture component that I look at with my practice, can we make this with all Shepherd users? And we're in really early stages now, but thinking about some sort of staff wellness check-in so that it's, a fun, silly way that people can answer, a couple questions, nothing, when they log into Shepherd, answer questions about how they're feeling that day. And that might be like GIFs, or GIFs, like never remember how to say it, but yeah, pick which one. And then somehow, anonymously get that back to the hospital owners or management to see, then they'd be able to go, hey, looks like we've had like a decrease in staff morale. What's going on? Did we lose somebody? Did we hire somebody who's, like toxic to the culture? What's going on? Talking to different organizations out there, nonprofits and companies who are dedicated to staff well-being and sustainable staff well-being. I think that's this is just a really exciting way, so again, lots of hats within Shepherd, but that's where I'm finding a lot of passion and joy in how can I help not just my staff, but anyone who's using Shepherd in this light of knowing that vet med's in a bit of a crisis, and we have to change it. We have to talk about it, which is why I'm really, happy you brought it up here too, because we have to talk about it and not be embarrassed about it, and come up with real solutions. And that, then again, this might not work. Maybe the staff, the check-in within the software isn't the right way to go, but man, let's try it. Let's try to bring joy to vets and get them, yeah, doesn't have to be the way it is. And I think that there are lots of ways that we can try to make a change and a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of a GIF or a meme or something that is kind of like goofy and or funny, but having a way to, however you back it with like, this is what it means and how it all translates. Yeah. Like that's the hard part you all could figure out. But I like the idea because it is something that's, again, it's going back to being human, and it's not so, it doesn't need to be stuffy or feel like, oh my gosh, this again, and click, 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 click. It might be something that people look forward to and or find funny. But what about the favorite feature that you found with your hospital? You talked about it as you talked to others within, Shepherd. What is the thing in the PIMS that you're like, this has been super helpful. I've seen a big impact or a change for us.
There's a lot. And when I first onboarded my clinics, we were in Shepherd 1.0. And, I think in general, what I love about them about Shepherd in general is that we are constantly evolving and changing and trying to be better. And so there's new features, and 1.0, when 2018 Shepherd looks so much different than 2023 Shepherd, and just these, beautiful ways. But I think, I would say, it's the making things a lot more efficient. And that can be, there's a couple examples, like one, medical record notes, so when we do a spay procedure, most of the time, every doctor has their own script of exactly how, we prepped, how the surgery went, what the closure was to go home meds. And we're typing this or writing it again and again and again. Within Shepherd, there's automatic, medical record notes. So you just click on it, edit it. Oh, maybe I didn't use PDS. I used monocryl suture, and, enter it there. And now my surgical record, which might take me 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes 20 seconds, and I'm done. So that's really, the point of being, really fast and get in, get out, get home to your families. And, so I love that, but also what we're doing for, client education. Within the last year, we partnered with LifeLearn, which is a client education tool where we can give the discharges. So there's this great way integration within Shepherd where you can search anything. Oh, this dog has heartworm disease. The owners know nothing about it. And, we can just easily search within Shepherd, search LifeLearn's list of their informational articles and attach it to our discharges within 2 clicks. And then now we can email it to the client. We can print it. We can, and now it's in the medical record, but also we're educating our owners on things that maybe we don't have. Heartworm's complicated, we don't have that time to talk to them maybe right then, and send them home with something. So I think those are the things that it's, making the lives of vets easier, and patient care ultimately is what wins there. So it's a win-win for everybody, clients, patients, and staff.
Yeah. Big fan of LifeLearn. They're a sponsor of the podcast. So there's a reason.
Oh, are they? That's great.
Yeah, they are. So that'd be great plug. You didn't even know that. That's right. Yeah, they do a great job at communication, marketing, all kinds of good stuff. So they've been a great partner for a lot of veterinary hospitals and clinics around the country for a number of years. What advice would you give for someone that is an owner, potential owner? Because we'll come across on my day job, right? So at Vincier, we'll work with a lot of folks that are doing a startup that are like, hey, maybe my story wasn't like Laura's and it didn't work out with the acquisition or the buy-in. I'm going to go do my own thing. How does a current owner that maybe already has a PIMS but knows there's some issues, how do you select a new one? Right. And I'm not going to necessarily say like, give me the sales pitch for Shepherd, but like, how do you go through the evaluation process?
Well, and I think, and especially, speaking to what you just said about, not just the shepherd's, pitch, but part of what I always talk to people when it's a, a potential client is, not every PIMS is for every practice. And we'll be the first ones to say that. And I think that goes back to the culture and like, we're not going to just push this on somebody when it's not the right fit. So I think it's really going through your own workflows and knowing, what is it you're looking for and what's important to you, and taking whatever that is and duplicating it in whatever PIMS you're looking at. And, and honestly, it's, looking at side by side and, okay, I'm going to look at ImpriMed and run through these, these 5 things that are important to me in my practice, and do that with everyone that you're looking at, and go from there. So it's that. And also part of it is, and what I said about, I want to like the people who back the product. Do you want a big company, because maybe they're, certainly maybe more financially stable, less likely to go under. Also maybe more likely to get, purchased by somebody else. And now it's, renamed or, not going to be continued anymore. Do you want to, I'm from Philly. We like the underdogs, right? So, like I like supporting a small business. Like I said, I was one of the first 15, and now we're over 200. So, what's important to you? I think it's matching your culture and your values with that of the software.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. It reminds me a little bit almost from a financial planning perspective. It's like, what are we solving for? And what are we trying to get to?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
what tool or what decisions allow that to happen? And it's the same thing where, depending on how you run things, this may or may not be the right fit. But no one
Yeah.
wants to be like, yeah, you should do this. And let me twist your arm. And then you hate it. And then
Right.
all you do is, complain and just
Right.
tell
Right.
everyone how much you hate it, right? Like, that's not good for the marketing department to fix that. So I get that. What's something, and it could be about our conversation earlier, it could be about Shepherd in general, it could be personal life. What's something I haven't asked you about that's on your heart or mind? And it could be, take that anywhere you want.
Oh, that's interesting. You haven't asked me about. Anything. Well, I guess what I think what, it's kind of relating to what we were talking about, but something that I would encourage, everyone, like I said, I love change, and that's for my personal life as well. And all of this, the practices being, living in one place, practices in another state. I've really just embraced life, and it goes along with why I'm so passionate about wanting other vets, especially my colleagues, my coworkers, I see them struggling, but embracing life. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing it's silly, like you're a teenager and you think you know everything. And, like now it's like, hey, I don't know anything. And I want to just learn everything that I don't know. And getting out there, it was the first time I moved away from my family when we moved here. And it's been an incredible journey, and it was scary as all get out, and challenging myself to get out, get outside comfort zones, learn, talk to new people. I'm pretty much an introvert. I'm not a huge extrovert going out, putting myself out there, but man, I'm trying now. And it has been, life-changing, frankly. Like I love who I am more, evolving as a person, and just, I don't want stagnant in my vocabulary. So I think that's been my last 2 years kind of life revelation is, let's not be stagnant. Let's embrace life. Let's chase life. Is that reasonable?
There's no
Reasonable
everything's
answer.
reasonable. But in general, though, like as you become an adult, you come in your like professional career. Let's say you have a partner, get married, have kids, all this other. Like, how do you make friends as an adult? Is the question I always ask. Right? Like, it is a weird question, but there's so much truth to that. And so when you move to a new area,
It
right?
is
Like,
tough.
that's very different. How are you going to make those relationships, and how do you do that? And you'd be like, it's just strange because I think it's like 7 years. So once you've had a friend for 7 years, like those are kind of like lifelong friends. But then there's people, and it's
Sure.
okay if people come through your life through a season and it's like, we're good friends. And then and I think that's fine, where a lot of people struggle with that. There's certain seasons where, you're
Yeah.
connected and close with people, and there's sometimes they move on, and that's a natural part of just life in general. And that's something I've noticed for sure.
Totally agree. I've always used the phrase, pruning the friendship tree. And sometimes that's me doing the pruning, sometimes that's life doing the pruning, sometimes the other friend does the pure pruning, and that's okay. And then in order for that, tree to really grow, sometimes you have to not have those relationships anymore. Those relationships change. And I firmly believe everyone comes into our life in different times and different ways for a reason. We might not know what that reason is, but but they're there. Um, and I am so fortunate that I have found in a short period of time this incredible group of friends here. Maybe there's 20 or so, but maybe 10 who I'm really close to, who I have never like just immediately hit it off with them, and they've got my back, and I feel like they've known me for 10 years, and just an incredible humans who make me want to be a better human every day, and kind and generous, and just leading their lives with kindness. Those are the kind of people I want to be around. And I think that's, looking back, like, crazy moving to Phoenix, but I have created just these bonds with people, and I'm so thankful for it. But it's tough, and I'm, like I said, I am an introvert, and I, have historically never had a ton of friends, just a core, smaller groups, because I'm not out there. I'm not the life of the party. I'm not in the, center stage, all of that. And it's hard. I have young kids, and I found that, wasn't the place for me to make, friends, that at least those moms were not my speed, um, which is fine. Nothing, nothing wrong, but it's just, that wasn't the outlet for me. And I, lucked onto this group, and this is, ridiculous, and you can totally cut this out of the podcast, but, met a bunch of friends at, bars, going and watching, like the, Kentucky Derby, and, some sitting next to other people, and hey, got to chatting. And then that's how I got into this amazing friend group, just by chance, walked
I was
into a
going to
bar one
ask,
day, and
yeah, I was going to ask how you met them. So no, typically when someone says you can cut this out if you want, I'm like, no, no, no. This usually means something really good is about ready to come. This is good. Like you ignore that. It's like, nope, didn't hear that. Yeah, that's interesting because you say that you're an introvert, but yet going like, I feel like I'm pretty extroverted, but like I'll go and travel, and sometimes I'll chat with people. But sometimes I'm like, I don't like, it depends on the day. Sometimes like, I'm not there for it. Like, and
sure.
maybe you miss that opportunity, but yeah, it's interesting that you could make that connection in a place like that. So many times people
Yeah,
are on their phones, and, I'll raise my hand as being guilty, but if you aren't, and you actually are there to enjoy whatever you're doing, sometimes
right.
that's an easy way to maybe talk to other people. So it's cool.
And exactly, and that goes back to, when I was saying, putting myself out there, and I never would have done that before. But when I kind of really embraced this, hey, I'm going to chase life, and we're going to move to Phoenix. And I don't know, a soul. I don't have any friends out there, but like, gosh darn, I'm going to try, and hey, that's a pretty bracelet. I don't even know how the conversation started, but, just
Sure.
like putting myself out there and going, hey, let's try this. And I'm sure there were lots of times where people rolled their eyes at me and walked the other way, but all right, no sweat. I got thick skin, So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, you leave with the same amount of friends as you walked in at that point, right? Like
that's
the
right.
downside
Yeah,
is you're limited. They don't know who you are. It's cool.
that's right.
Whatever. Um, I always sometimes remember, other times don't. You can ask me any question that you want, because I've been firing questions your
Ooh,
way and making you answer things. So it can be serious, it can be silly, it can be something that is vet med related, non-vet med related, and ask all kinds of questions. So is there anything that you would want to ask?
yeah, I've got a good one. So, um, if I wasn't a veterinarian, I think maybe my second life calling would have been a paleontologist. I am somewhat obsessed with dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, all of the, everything dinosaur, obsessed with. Got my T-Rex on my arm. So
There
super
you go.
nerdy, but I'm going to ask you what your favorite dinosaur is.
Ooh, it's a good question. Jurassic Park, I really, really always like that movie. Loved
Yes,
it. Now, I haven't watched as many of the newer ones because they've been so bad, but
they
the
are.
the the original is so good. The other thing, I have young kids as well. My son will be 4 in June. Never picking up on animals and dinosaurs. He's much more like the, you know, construction truck, like
Yeah.
emergency vehicle stuff, but he's just not into animals or dinos. It's funny. So I'm like, I don't know what our next one will be, but he never wants that stuff. So, favorite dinosaur. Uh, I don't know. I think part of because of Jurassic Park. I always liked the Velociraptors because they were always so smart, right? And they were
Yes.
all able to like scheme and think through. And like some of the scenes now, again, there's certain scenes in that movie with which obviously the T-Rex is, you know, the big scene where it first breaks out, the power goes out, and that
Yeah.
whole thing. But the tap tap tap, like in the room later on when they're like in the kitchen, like that is
Yes.
so great. And I think that's partially why that's been. But yeah, that has to be it for me, just because of Jurassic Park.
That's
Which is interesting.
absolutely. And that's one of the most terrifying scenes ever.
Totally.
Like still
Yeah.
to this day, like I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I just
it's
think
funny.
of
Good answer. I like
I
Velociraptor.
won't give it the credit. I'm not even going to try. But it's like when he says like smart girl, and then he gets like attacked right there, like that.
Clever girl.
Oh yeah, clever girl. See, yeah, I knew I was going to mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it like that whole just the way of like the way that they set that up is wonderful. So excellent movie. I like it. I wasn't going to ask about tattoos, but that's cool. Appreciate sharing. And again, for those
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
watch on YouTube, they won't get to see, so they got to go subscribe.
That's right.
Um, in closing, where should people reach out and connect with you? So if they want to just chat with
Yeah.
you in general, give them a handoff, and then Shepherd, if they're looking for PIMs, want to chat through things, saying, I have some questions. I'd like to talk to someone that is a user, also a practice owner. What does that look like?
Yeah. So like contact information and all of
Sure.
that, or
Yeah.
so my email, and I can send it to you afterwards as well. I think you might have it already. Shepherd related, Lauren at shepherd.vet. I can get you in contact for, demos, all of that. Or, life stuff too, and I always tell people whether you go with Shepherd or not, it takes a village. And so if you're, a practice owner and you just want to reach out and you don't go with Shepherd, like, I don't care. Let's talk, how do you do this? How do you do that? And just to have community and to have somebody who's got your back, and, whether that's venting or whatever it is, like I'm here for it. So email's good. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. So I can, send you that stuff and, get in contact that way.
Perfect. We'll put it in the show notes. Really, really appreciate the time. Great to
Perfect.
connect. And that was easy. See, first podcast done. Now you
That
have a
was
bunch more
done.
to go from here. So perfect. But thank you. Really, really appreciate it. And great conversation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me on. Have a great rest of your day.
Recruiting team members in your veterinary practice has never been this hard. You can either bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away, or adapt. Enter Guardian Vets. By leveraging best-in-class technology, you can empower your staff and reduce their workload. Help reduce burnout. You also provide a better experience for your clients and patients, which you want to do as you serve them. The solutions Guardian Vets offers includes after-hours triage, virtual CSRs, that know your team and processes, telemedicine, and so much more. Become the employer of choice in your area by offering the best tools to position your team for success. Whether you're starting a de novo, clinic, multi-doctor, or multi-location, Guardian Vets can help you be more efficient and effective. Go to the website, guardianvets.com, click the Get Started button, then let them know that I sent you, right? Let them know the Vet Success Podcast sent you. Get 50% off your first month. Don't let another quarter or year happen before you start making changes, because you know you need to. So talk to the Guardian Vets team today and implement a new solution. Have you ever walked into a space and thought, wow, this place is beautiful? There's a reason for that. Architecture has this innate ability to impact emotions and perceptions. My friends at Apex Design Build bring beautiful and functional spaces for veterinarians nationwide. Apex is a fourth-generation family-run company that is fully integrated from the design, architecture, and construction process. They help you mitigate risk, eliminate surprises, save time, save money, and reduce your efforts. Sounds great. Check out their amazing work and have access to their square footage calculator to help you plan out your expansion or new build. Click the link in the show notes for the exclusive offer and learn more about Apex Design Build. Why do banks seem to always be impersonal, slow to answer questions, or give you the runaround when you need money for your dreams? Enter Panacea Financial. Panacea Financial is a nationwide digital bank built for doctors by doctors. Whether you're a veterinarian in training, practice owner, or aspire to be a practice owner someday, Panacea Financial is a bank designed specifically for you. It was started by two doctors who were frustrated working with banks, and so started their own to serve their community. With common sense lending guidelines and fast decisioning, they've helped doctors all across the country start, grow, or acquire their dream practice. Looking to buy into a practice, Panacea helps doctors with practice buy-in loans, and they are funded in a matter of days. If you're ready to join the thousands of doctors nationwide who have decided to get independence from traditional banks, visit panaceafinancial.com today to see how you can get your dream practice started. Panacea Financial is a division of Primis, member FDIC. Finding a job or finding a veterinarian shouldn't be a waste of time. Enter an offer first. Paul Diaz and team have created something really special with Offer First. Some of my favorite reasons are as follows. Candidates and employers will both have values aligned on the first step, not the last. The sign-up process quick and simple, no resume required. So if you're looking for a job but you aren't really sure, it's as easy as scrolling on Zillow for a home. And finally, if you have a great match, it's based on your each unique requirements, not random keywords. If you want to learn more, listen to episode 179 with Paul Diaz. We cover all of that. The other exclusive great thing that you're going to get from this ad read and from Paul is I convinced him to give an exclusive discount to listeners of this podcast. So for owners, you're getting a 20% discount on both the placement of any candidate, but also access to the platform. Use VSP if you go to Offer First, or the easiest way is a link in the show notes. So check it out. Associates, those looking for a job, same thing. Use the link in the show notes. Use VSP if you go directly to Offer First. But I will donate and Paul will donate to a veterinary nonprofit of your choosing. So each person that signs up gets a vote. Your votes actually count, which is incredible. And so I'll be reaching out. I will handle that. But there's going to be a donation made for any associate or any job seeker that adds on the platform. We want to make sure that not only does the platform help to make sure that you find a better fit, better culture, better role, but it's also doing good in veterinary medicine. Okay, so link in the show notes is going to take you to Offer First. It's going to automatically apply that, but also use code VSP if you go to Offer First directly. And Offer First is changing the game of veterinary recruiting. I want each and every one of you to benefit from it, so check them out today. All right, so there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email BaysideVet251@Yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients, and outdoorsmen or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. You know, who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time and paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER, no on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. Personable, small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, a hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, pro-sal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to WatertownPetCare.com for that. option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out, let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know, and we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon. Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job when not podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say, bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcast is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you list on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinarian Success Podcast on Facebook or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.